Did you know that Mary, our Heavenly Mother, left warning signs and messages before the final chaos? And most surprisingly, many of these messages came through dreams and visions to ordinary people. People like you and me, who perhaps never expected to be chosen to receive such profound and spiritual messages. These revelations, which are often ignored or disregarded, can hold the key to understanding crucial moments in our journey of faith. Imagine being an ordinary person, waking from a dream with an inexplicable feeling, a call from your heart that cannot be ignored. How would you react? What would you do when you realize that a seemingly simple divine message could contain ancient wisdom, a warning of difficult times yet to come? Stay with me until the end of this video, because what you're about to discover may surprise you. Let's explore together the messages Mary revealed through dreams and visions. How she communicates with us in mysterious ways, yet so clear to those with eyes to see and ears to hear. Sometimes, a simple vision can be the answer you've been searching for. Have you ever experienced this? Have you ever had a dream or vision that deeply touched your soul, but you didn't know what it meant? This is an experience many have, but few understand, so move forward and stay alert, because what comes next may change the way you view your own faith and the way Mary, the Heavenly Mother, is present in our lives. Let's embark on this path of discovery and revelation together, as we delve deeper into this journey of divine revelations and messages. I want to know, have you ever had a moment like this? Have you ever felt something in your heart that you can't explain, but that, deep down, you know is something deeper, something spiritual? If this topic resonates with you, leave a comment below with what touched you most, or a moment when you felt called in a special way. Each comment is an opportunity for us to connect more deeply and share our experiences as a true community of faith. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, take the opportunity to do so now. When you subscribe, you're not just following more content, you're part of this movement of transformation, of revealing the divine messages that Mary and other prophets left us, so that together we can reach more people with these words of hope and guidance. Your participation here is what makes this channel grow and reach more hearts, bringing this message to those who need to hear it most. Please also like the video if you felt something that awakened your faith or curiosity. Each like strengthens this space where we can continue exploring these mysteries and sharing the teachings Mary has to share. Stay with me until the end, because the next part of the story will continue to open doors to new understanding. Now, I want to delve even deeper into this topic and talk about something that often goes unnoticed: the silence before the storm. If you've ever paid attention to Mary's messages, you've noticed that they don't always come in sweeping visions or thunderous sounds. On the contrary, Heavenly Mother often makes herself heard through a silence that is, in fact, one of the most powerful warnings we can receive. Mary's silence is one of the keys to understanding the depth of divine messages. It's not absence, but a stillness full of meaning. It's like when, before a great change, everything seems calm, as if the world is on pause, as if heaven is waiting, holding its breath. This silence is not empty. It is charged with ancient wisdom, an invitation to reflection, rest, and, above all, preparation. What comes next, in many cases, is revealing and transformative. Mary often uses this silence to prepare us for what is to come. We are not accustomed to stillness. We live in a world of haste and hustle and bustle, where everything demands an immediate response, where every second seems urgent. Therefore, Mary's silence, in its discretion, is often difficult to perceive. But those who learn to listen, who allow themselves to enter this space of calm, will discover that there is something profound there, something that can only be grasped by those willing to stop, to silence the inner and outer voices, and connect with what is not spoken, but felt. Imagine for a moment that you're in the middle of a storm. The wind, the rain, the thunder, chaos outside. Then, suddenly, everything goes quiet. The sound disappears. The wind calms. What would you do in this moment of silence? You'd probably sense that something is about to happen. This stillness precedes action. Such is Mary's silence. It is the harbinger of something great that is about to happen. But that needs time to be revealed. This subtle, silent vision may seem harmless at first glance, but it's a sign that something much greater is about to unfold. Mary, unlike the more dramatic apparitions we're used to seeing in films or stories, calls us to an experience of personal transformation, a journey that demands more than simply accepting words. It demands an inner openness, a careful gaze, and deep listening. Not everyone can grasp this silent vibration, but for those who do, the experience becomes a milestone of growth and spiritual enlightenment. Bada Maria knows that, in such a noisy world, revelations must come with a gentleness that allows us to absorb their essence. After all, it is subtlety that touches us most deeply. When she appears in dreams or visions, the message is often not grandiose in visual terms, but rather a small gesture, a word, a look. These small but powerful signs are like seeds planted in our hearts, slowly growing, until, one day, we realize that something has changed within us. And in this process, an invisible impact occurs. Sometimes we may not fully grasp the message at first. We may think there's nothing extraordinary about a simple vision or a strange feeling we have. But over time, the pieces fall into place, and we see that Mary has led us on a path of spiritual transformation that could only be achieved through simplicity and stillness. This silence before the storm teaches us to wait patiently, to trust in divine timing, and to believe that even when nothing seems to be happening, something is moving. Behind the scenes, sometimes, great revelations don't happen all at once, but unfold gradually, in small, subtle gestures that only gain meaning as we prepare to receive them. Over time, transformation happens. That moment when you realize something within you has changed, that you are more at peace, more connected to your own faith, your own truth. Change often comes discreetly. It doesn't arrive with a bang, but with a gentleness that touches the soul and gradually shapes our mindset, leading us to a deeper understanding of our own spiritual journey. The question is, are you willing to acknowledge this silence? Are you ready to understand what it means? Because it is in this silence that Mary speaks to us. It is in this silence that she prepares us for what is to come. If you know how to listen, you will realize that in this quiet space lies an immense power, a transformative power that can guide us to true inner peace. Now, as we reflect on this moment of calm, of silence, I want to know, what has touched you most so far? How have you experienced this silence on your own journey? Comment below. I'm listening to the silence and share your experience, your perception. Let's continue this journey of discovery together. Now, I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because the truth is that often, the message Mary sends us is right before our eyes, but we fail to see it. As much as we are called to pay attention, something prevents us from hearing what is being said. Most people, no matter how connected they are to the spiritual, end up ignoring the messages sent to them. Often, what seems like an unimportant dream, a vague feeling, or a silent intuition, is actually a prophecy offered to us but not recognized. How many times have you ignored something that seemed small but carried a divine message? How many times have you felt a chill upon hearing a word or seeing a scene that, for some reason, deeply touched your soul, but which, over time, was forgotten, dismissed as a mere coincidence? This happens all the time. We are so busy with everyday matters that we often miss the spiritual messages that are thrust directly into our lives. And these messages, however subtle, have the power to transform everything. It's a common misconception that great spiritual revelations come in grandiose forms, with brilliant lights or dazzling visions. However, Mary's messages and divine warnings often come in a simple, silent, almost imperceptible way. The prophecy we don't hear is actually the one that arrives discreetly, almost like a whisper, in which we often miss because we aren't paying attention. This lack of attention happens for several reasons. We live in a world where we're constantly in a rush, and our minds are always full of worries and challenges. The hustle and bustle of everyday life makes us lose sight of the signals being sent. The problem is that by ignoring these small signs, we may be missing the answers we're so desperately seeking. And worse, often, life only brings us these messages when we're ready to listen. Or, in some cases, when we have no choice but to pay attention. Has this ever happened to you? That feeling that, after ignoring something important, life somehow brought the same message back so you could finally understand it. I know this often seems confusing, but it's a process we all go through. We tend to look for answers in grand places, in big churches, in big demonstrations. But the truth is that the most powerful revelations of our faith come from within, from the simplicity of small things. These messages are like seeds planted within us, growing silently until at some point, we find ourselves faced with a truth we had never perceived before. Mary, in her infinite wisdom, knows this. She understands that true transformation does not come from the outside in, but from the inside out. Therefore, her messages and signs come in ways that challenge us to look within, to reflect on who we are, what we do, and how we can become more receptive to divine messages. She knows that to be truly touched, we must be willing to go beyond the surface, to hear what is being said in the silence, to perceive the small revelations that are constantly around us. I know this kind of message can be difficult to understand at first, especially when we're so used to seeking answers in the noise of the outside world. However, when we begin to cultivate a mindset of openness and attentive listening, we begin to perceive the revelations that were there all along, available to us. And then, true transformation occurs. We begin to realize that spiritual messages are not something distant, something reserved for a select few, but something that is within reach of all of us, every day. What we need to do is be willing to listen. Now, tell me, how many times have you had a moment when a small thing, a simple gesture or word, had a profound impact on your life, but you didn't appreciate it at the time? Comment below, "I was distracted," and share your experience. Let's walk this path of transformation together. Now I want to delve even deeper into this topic, because if there's one thing many people don't often realize, it's the power of dreams. When we talk about how Mary speaks to us, it's impossible not to mention this mysterious and powerful medium she uses to convey her messages. Have you ever stopped to reflect on the impact a dream can have on your life? Sometimes, it's these dreamlike moments that carry messages of warning, salvation, and inner transformation, often in ways that simple words couldn't convey. Mary, our Heavenly Mother, has always had a very special connection with the spiritual world. As the intercessor between us and her Son, she has the unique ability to communicate the depths of divine mysteries in ways that are not always evident at first glance. And one of these ways is through dreams. We are not talking about mere imagination, but dreams that touch the soul, that leave such a strong impression that, upon waking, we cannot simply ignore them. They stay with us, haunting us, as if the Spirit itself were calling us to something greater, deeper. Have you ever had a dream that seemed to have a meaning beyond the obvious? Something that felt more real than anything you've experienced during the day? This kind of dream is no coincidence. Mary, as an intercessor, often uses dreams to warn us, to prepare us for what is to come, or, in some cases, to show us the path to salvation. In ancient times, God spoke to his servants through dreams, and history shows us that these dreams were not just personal messages, but revelations that touched an entire community. Let's look, for example, at biblical passages where dreams play a vital role in divine communication. In Matthew 1:20, an angel appeared to Joseph in a dream, telling him not to fear taking Mary as his wife, for she was with child by the Holy Spirit. Through this dream, Joseph received confirmation of the divine mystery being revealed, and he acted in faith, obeying God's call. This shows us that dreams have the power to direct us, to guide us in moments of indecision or doubt. And it doesn't stop there. In Matthew 2:12, we see that the Magi, after visiting the baby Jesus, received a warning in a dream not to return to Herod, who wanted to kill the child. This dream saved Jesus' life and, in a way, fulfilled God's purpose in protecting his Son. What this teaches us is that dreams are not just disconnected images our minds create while we sleep. They can be powerful messages, divine guidance, warnings that alert us to impending danger, and often, revelations of what is to come. Mary, as the mother of Jesus, also plays an essential role in this process. As an intercessor between us and God, she uses dreams to communicate her protective and maternal presence. She not only intercedes for us before God, but also guides and warns us about the paths we should follow. Throughout history, many people have reported dreams in which Mary appeared to them, bringing messages of hope, faith, and transformation. These dreams often arrive when we most need guidance, when we are experiencing spiritual or emotional difficulties. Through her appearances in dreams, Mary reminds us of her constant presence in our lives and her mission to bring us closer to her Son. But why does she choose dreams for this? The answer lies in the depth and intimacy they can provide. During sleep, our minds are more open, more receptive to spiritual messages. It's as if we're more connected to the divine, more removed from the distractions of the material world. Dreams have the power to touch our soul in a unique way. They go beyond logic and reason and speak directly to our hearts, awakening deep emotions and feelings that we often cannot access during the day. Throughout the centuries, accounts of mystical and prophetic dreams involving Mary and other saints have been a constant. These stories are not mere coincidences. They are part of a divine mystery that has been revealed to us, little by little. Over time, each dream, each vision, is an opportunity to draw closer to Mary, to better understand her message, and to allow ourselves to be guided by her wisdom and love. But how, then, can we learn to hear these messages? The first thing is to be attentive. When we receive a dream that touches us deeply, we need to pay attention to it. We shouldn't dismiss it as something trivial. Often, the dreams that impact us are those that have something to teach us. And if Mary is using this means to communicate with us, it's a sign that we need to open our hearts to these messages. We cannot ignore them. We must reflect on what these dreams can mean for us on our spiritual journey, that as we continue our journey of faith, understanding the role of dreams in our spiritual life is essential. Mary, with her divine sensitivity, speaks to us in this silent yet powerful way. By understanding this, we can better prepare ourselves for what she wishes to reveal to us, for the transformation she wants us to experience. Now, I want to know, have you ever had a dream that you felt had a profound meaning? Have you ever woken up with the feeling that something divine had touched your soul during your sleep? Comment, I hear my dreams. Let's walk this path together, always attentive to the revelations that the Spirit wishes to share with us. Now, I want to delve even deeper into this topic, as it is crucial that we understand that Mary's prophetic dreams are not something distant or exclusive to ancient times. They continue to occur today, and many ordinary people, like you and me, have experienced life-changing experiences through dreams and visions. The idea that these spiritual messages are restricted to a select few is far from the truth. Mary, as an intercessor, speaks to those who are open and willing to listen, even in our day, where the noise and distractions of the world are constant. Imagine you're living an ordinary routine, an ordinary day, without great expectations. And then, suddenly, something happens while you sleep. Something that takes you out of your comfort zone and confronts you with a revelation so profound that, upon waking, you can barely process what happened. This has happened to many people who, in their simplest circumstances, have had dreams so vivid, so clear, that they couldn't ignore them. These dreams were divine messages, guided by Mary, warning them of something to come, or offering guidance. In moments of doubt and anguish, a well-known story is that of a woman who, after experiencing a period of deep anguish, had a dream about Mary. She was going through a difficult time, feeling lost in her spiritual journey. She woke up every day feeling hopeless, unsure of how to escape that feeling of emptiness. One night, after intense prayer for guidance, she dreamed of a clear image of Mary, dressed in blue with a serene yet deeply attentive expression. Mary was guiding her along a lighted road surrounded by flowers, but in the distance, a storm was beginning to gather. Mary, with a calm gesture, indicated that she should continue on her way, despite the approaching storm. When she awoke, she felt an inexplicable peace and a new purpose. The message was clear. Life, like that path, could be difficult, but she was not alone. Mary was by her side, guiding her on her journey. This story is not isolated. Around the world, people have experienced similar dreams with messages coming from Mary, both serene and challenging. Another equally striking case involved a man facing a family crisis. He felt he was losing control of his life and his faith. One night, he dreamed of Mary, who told him, "Do not be afraid. I am your mother, and I will not leave you alone. Trust." The peace he felt upon waking was so strong that he knew, at that moment, that he had received not only comfort but a direct answer to his anguish. He began to reconnect with his faith and began to notice the positive changes in his life from that dream onward. These are just two examples among many others that could be shared. These stories are deeply moving because, in many cases, they resemble our own experiences. These revelations are not sent only to saints or historical figures, but to ordinary people who are searching for something more, something beyond what their eyes can see. Mary's visions are not the privilege of a few. They are a universal call, a message accessible to all who have eyes to see and ears to hear. Now, what can we learn from these testimonies? The first lesson is that Mary speaks to us in the most unexpected moments. She uses dreams as a way to give us direction, to warn us, to comfort us. But we can also understand that these dreams don't happen by chance. They are part of the divine process of transformation, which often comes disguised in the simplicities of life. And, for those willing to listen and understand, these messages can be the key to profound change, a change that not only touches the individual but also reflects on their family, their friends, and their community. The truth is that these stories are more common than we imagine. But not everyone is willing to share what they've experienced. Fear of judgment, doubt about the veracity of the experience, and the fear of appearing different or outside the norm cause many to keep these experiences to themselves. But the reality is that by sharing them, we open doors to more people who may have also experienced something similar but didn't know how to understand or explain it. And it is in this sharing of experiences that we begin to realize that these revelations are part of a larger movement, one that involves all of us on our spiritual journey. Mary's journey is one of trust, faith, and hope. And it's important to remember that, however challenging our lives may be, these dreams and visions are a reminder that we are not alone. Mary is always with us, guiding us, protecting us, calling us to a life of faith and surrender. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever had a dream or vision that deeply touched your soul? What was that moment like for you? What did it teach? You comment, "That resonates with me." Let's continue this journey of transformation and faith together. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because there's a silent emotion that always accompanies Mary's messages. Fear. And I'm not talking about simple fear, the kind that comes from an obvious threat or a palpable danger. I'm talking about the more subtle, more internal fear, the kind that settles in the heart when we receive a vision, a warning, a divine call, telling us something is coming. This fear is different. It's silent, it doesn't scream, but it works its way through the soul, stirring our certainties, our beliefs, our understanding of what we're experiencing. Have you ever felt this? That chill, that knot in your stomach when something inside you knows things are about to change, but you don't yet know exactly how. Fear can be a paralyzing sensation, an emotion that makes us hesitate, that leaves us doubtful, that makes us question our choices and decisions. Mary, in her apparitions, often brings messages that have this impact. Not because she wants to scare us, but because the warning is necessary. Transformation doesn't happen without a confrontation with what is hidden, with what is right in front of us, but which we often choose not to see. When Mary speaks to us, she often brings a revelation that can be disconcerting. She shows us what's to come, makes us perceive the hidden truth about the situations we're experiencing or the world around us. And in this process, it's natural for fear to arise. It's a human response to the unknown, to what we don't fully understand. However, what's striking about Mary's messages is that this fear doesn't come alone. Alongside it, there's always hope, light, and guidance that calls us to prepare ourselves spiritually. Spiritual preparation is key to understanding and overcoming this fear. Mary, by warning us of what is to come, offers us the opportunity to strengthen our faith. She calls us to draw closer to God, to pray, to reflect, to seek the truth in our hearts. Fear, then, is not something to be feared. It is an invitation to transformation, a sign that we need to prepare for the change that is approaching. This type of fear challenges us to grow, to evolve, to deepen our relationship with the spiritual. When we think of Mary, we often think of a loving, gentle, and protective mother. But Mary is also a mother who awakens us to the realities of spiritual life. She doesn't just show us the easy path, the path of comfort. She shows us the path of redemption, purification, and often inner struggle. And as we make this journey, fear can be a companion, but it is never the end of the story. Fear prepares us, strengthens us, and leads us to a deeper, more solid, more confident faith. When Mary warns us, she often gives us signs that something greater is coming, but she never leaves us alone. Even when fear seems overwhelming, her message is always clear. There is a way to overcome this. There is a way to find peace and hope, and that comes through spiritual preparation. When we prepare ourselves, when we connect with our faith and divine protection, fear loses its power. It transforms into motivation for action, growth, and inner transformation. This silent fear that arises when we receive Mary's messages is, in fact, an invitation to prepare. It is not a paralyzing fear, but a fear that awakens us, that calls us to action. It challenges us to look within ourselves and find what needs healing, what needs transformation. And it is through this process that true hope emerges. Hope is not a promise that everything will be easy or free of challenges. The hope Mary offers us is a hope that comes with the certainty that, by preparing ourselves spiritually, we will have the strength to face any adversity that comes our way. This spiritual preparation is no simple task. It requires a constant commitment to prayer, reflection, and the pursuit of a purer life more aligned with divine will. But, at the same time, it is a journey of great rewards. When we truly prepare, we begin to realize that fear no longer holds the same power over us. It transforms into a sense of clarity, purpose, and a deep connection with the divine. And in doing so, we become more than just people who believe in something. We become people who actively live their faith, who face life's difficulties with courage, confidence, and hope, knowing that Mary is with us every step of the way, guiding us, interceding for us, and preparing us for what lies ahead. Now, thinking about everything we've discussed so far, I want to know, have you ever experienced a moment of spiritual fear that ultimately turned into something positive in your life? What was that experience like for you? Comment below. Fear transformed me. Let's move forward together, overcoming fear and preparing ourselves for the transformation that Mary offers us. Now, I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because it's impossible to ignore the signs that Mary warned us about in her messages. Often, these signs come as events that, at first glance, seem unrelated, but when observed with the eyes of faith and spirituality, reveal a dark and turbulent path that lies ahead. Mary, in her infinite wisdom and love, warns us of what is to come, urging us to prepare ourselves spiritually for an uncertain future, where trials and challenges will be great. Have you ever stopped to reflect on the events around you? Look at the world. Is there something that seems out of place, as if an invisible force were moving the pieces on a vast chessboard, leading us toward a destiny we'd often rather not face? I'm not just talking about political, social, or economic crises. I'm talking about something deeper, affecting the soul and spirit of humanity. What we are experiencing now can be seen, from a spiritual perspective, as a series of signs preceding a final chaos. And Mary, our Heavenly Mother, warns us to be vigilant. The signs of chaos aren't necessarily immediate cataclysmic events, but subtle changes, often disguised as normality. They're the small details that begin to accumulate, and when we look at them more clearly, we see a pattern forming. It could be increased violence, the weakening of spiritual values, or a widespread disinterest in truth and justice. These are the signs that often go unnoticed because we're so immersed in our daily lives, focused on our personal concerns and desires. Mary always taught us that chaos begins in people's hearts, in their separation from God, in the loss of faith, and when this happens on a large scale, it is reflected in the outside world. Selfishness, materialism, disrespect for others and for nature. The withdrawal from spiritual matters and the growing indifference to social and human problems are, in fact, the symptoms of the approaching chaos. Increasingly, we see people dealing with a sense of existential emptiness, a lack of purpose. Many are searching for something, but don't know exactly what. The search for truth is being replaced by the pursuit of immediate and superficial gratification. Mary calls us to look beyond the surface, to see the signs the world is giving us. It's not hard to see that we are at a turning point, a moment of transition. What once seemed unthinkable is now happening before our eyes. Abrupt changes in politics, the economy, the way people relate to each other, and international relations. These events, however disconnected they may seem at first glance, are quietly connecting. The pieces are falling into place, and it's hard not to notice that something larger, darker, is brewing. However, Mary does not leave us without hope. She warns us of chaos, but also calls us to prepare. Spiritual preparation is key to facing the turbulent times ahead. She tells us that even in the face of darkness, there is light. Truth and faith are our anchors, and it is through them that we can find the strength to endure what is to come. The final chaos, which many fear, need not be the end, but rather a new beginning, a beginning where those who are spiritually prepared can find peace, even in the midst of the storm. These signs of chaos can come in many forms. It could be increased uncertainty in the air, a loss of trust in institutions, and indeed, the widespread fear gripping many, the growing division among people. But in the midst of this, Mary teaches us not to succumb to fear, not to let ourselves be overcome by anxiety or anguish. She invites us to stand firm, to remember that we are guided by a greater power, a power that will never abandon us, no matter how dark the path seems. Now, I want you to think for a moment. Have you noticed these signs around you? Have you ever felt something was changing, but couldn't quite pinpoint what it was? What do these signs mean for you, for your faith journey? Comment, I see the signs. Let's reflect together on what Mary has shown us and prepare for what's to come, trusting that spiritual preparation will be our greatest protection. Now I want to delve even deeper into this topic, because when we talk about Mary's signs and the warnings she sends us, we cannot fail to mention the fundamental importance of prayer and spiritual preparation. These two elements are key to transforming our understanding of any warning that comes to us, whether through dreams, visions, or everyday situations. But how can we prepare for the spiritual challenges of the future? How can prayer help us better understand what Mary is telling us and prepare us for what is to come? Prayer is a direct channel of communication with the divine, a practice that brings us closer to God and allows us to hear more clearly the messages He sends us. When Mary warns us of chaos, of the turbulent times that are approaching, she does not leave us without resources. She invites us to prepare ourselves spiritually, to strengthen our faith, and to build an intimate relationship with God. And it is through prayer that we can do this deeply and truly. Prayer has the power to transform our perception of the world. It helps us see beyond the surface, to understand the true essence of situations and the warnings that reach us. When we pray, we connect with our deepest being, with our soul, and begin to understand that life's challenges are not just obstacles, but opportunities for spiritual growth. Prayer gives us the ability to see the divine in everything, even the most difficult moments, and allows us to deal with them with more serenity and confidence. Furthermore, spiritual preparation is essential for us to face turbulent times with faith and courage. Spiritual preparation doesn't just mean praying when things get difficult. It's a daily practice, a way of life. When we are constantly spiritually prepared, we are better prepared to perceive the signs God sends us and to make the decisions that lead us on the path of faith and truth. Daily prayer strengthens our mind, soul, and spirit, creating a solid foundation for when challenges arise. Mary, in her messages, always reminds us of the importance of spiritual vigilance. She knows that by preparing ourselves spiritually, we will be stronger to face any adversity. Prayer not only gives us strength, but also gives us clarity. When we are in tune with the divine, we are able to discern what is true and what is false, what is necessary for our transformation and what we should avoid. Spiritual preparation, then, is an ongoing process. We cannot expect to have the strength to face challenges in times of crisis if we haven't built this foundation first. Prayer, meditation, scripture study, and reflection on our actions are practices that keep us connected to God, preparing us for difficult times. These moments of prayer help us clear our minds, banish distractions, and focus on what truly matters, our relationship with the divine, and our ability to fulfill our spiritual mission. By preparing ourselves spiritually, we are also preparing ourselves for what Mary warns us about, the need to face chaos with wisdom and faith. When we know who we are spiritually and have a deep connection with God, fear and anxiety lose their power. Prayer transforms us, makes us more receptive to Mary's messages, and helps us trust in the divine plan, even when everything around us seems uncertain. Daily spiritual practice, whether in the form of prayer, meditation, or simply moments of reflection, is what keeps us steadfast in the face of difficulties. It allows us not only to understand Mary's warnings, but also to act with wisdom and faith, knowing that we are prepared to face any storm that comes our way. Now, I want you to think for a moment, how have you been preparing yourself spiritually for the challenges that lie ahead? Have you been dedicating time to prayer and reflection to strengthen your faith and trust in the divine? Comment below, I am preparing myself spiritually. Let's continue this journey together, firm in faith and ready to face what Mary warns us about with courage and hope. Now, I want to delve even deeper into this subject because when we talk about the signs and warnings Mary sends us, we cannot fail to address something that often defies our own human understanding: the visions she gives us. These revelations, however mysterious and enigmatic they may be, are always guided by divine mercy and Mary's immense love. They don't follow the logic we're accustomed to understanding, but that doesn't make them any less real or powerful. On the contrary, it is precisely the fact that they are so far beyond our rational comprehension that makes them even more special, for they force us to open the eyes of faith and see the world with a spiritual mindset. Have you ever had an experience that seemed to completely defy logic? That feeling of being faced with something so grand, so profound, that it simply cannot be explained by rational parameters. Perhaps it was a vision, a dream, or even a feeling that enveloped you and brought you an indescribable peace. Over the centuries, many people have had such visions, and one that always stands out is Mary's vision. These visions, however disconcerting they may be to our limited minds, have a clear purpose: to bring us closer to God and lead us on a path of inner transformation. Mary's visions often defy our logic because they are not predicted by natural or scientific rules. They show us something beyond what we can see with our physical eyes, something connected to a deeper, more sacred spiritual world. You may have heard stories where people report seeing Mary in unlikely places, or in moments of great need when their lives were about to change. They describe these visions in ways that don't make sense at first glance, but when we analyze them in the light of faith, we realize that there is a divine message there, waiting to be understood. Mary, in her infinite goodness and love, chooses to reveal these visions to those willing to listen and see with the eyes of the soul. She doesn't give us visions simply to surprise or confuse us, but to show us something deeper, something beyond our immediate understanding. When we observe these visions with an open mind and a willing heart, we can see in them a message of hope, love, and guidance. A classic example of this is the account of many people who, in moments of great anguish or spiritual crisis, had visions of Mary that guided them to follow a deeper path of faith. These visions, which may seem disconcerting to those who don't understand them, serve as a call, an invitation to inner transformation. While we may not fully understand the logic behind these experiences, we know from the testimony of so many that they are guided by the mercy of Mary, who never abandons her children alone, especially in times of greatest need. These visions, though challenging, do not come to distance us from reality, but to show us a new perspective, one that goes beyond our own limits. They invite us to see the world through the eyes of faith, to seek a deeper understanding of things, and to trust in the divine wisdom that Mary transmits to us. Human logic can lead us to understand only what is tangible, what we can touch or see, but faith teaches us to see beyond, to perceive what is not visible to the physical eye but is absolutely real to the soul. When visions defy logic, they ask us to trust in something greater, something we cannot control or manipulate with our rational mind. They lead us to a place of humility, where we understand that we do not know everything and that, often, true wisdom comes from recognizing our limitations and opening our hearts to divine revelations. It is this trust, this surrender to Mary's will, that allows us to understand what, at first glance, seems incomprehensible. Mary's visions, then, are an invitation to transformation. They challenge us to step out of our comfort zone, to leave behind what is familiar and safe, and to venture into a deeper path of faith where human logic doesn't hold the same weight as spiritual wisdom. It is these experiences that shape us, making us more aware of Mary's presence in our lives and more attentive to the divine call. Now, I want to know, have you ever had an experience that defied your logic, something you couldn't immediately explain, but that, over time, you realized had a profound spiritual meaning? Comment, I see beyond logic. Let's continue our journey together, defying logic and embracing the revelations that Mary brings us with love and mercy. Now I want to delve even deeper into this topic, because as we discuss Mary's signs and messages, it's important to understand that these warnings aren't meant to cause us panic, but rather to call us to something profoundly transformative: conversion and a return to God. Often, when we hear about the spiritual challenges that lie ahead, we may feel fear, a sense that something terrible is about to happen. However, the true purpose of these warnings isn't to frighten us, but to awaken us to the need for an inner transformation, a change of mind and heart. Mary, in her infinite mercy, summons us to a journey of spiritual purification. She calls us to leave behind the things of the world that separate us from God, to turn to true faith and divine love. This call to conversion is not an invitation to irrational fear or despair, but rather an invitation to profound reflection on our lives, our actions, and the path we are on. The conversion Mary invites us to experience is a return to God, a return to the truth, purity, and spirituality that are fundamental to our salvation. It seems simple, but the truth is that we are often so involved in worldly matters, so immersed in daily worries, that we forget the true purpose of life: to love God above all things and our neighbor as ourselves. Mary calls us, through dreams and visions, to reflect on this. These moments of revelation are like an invitation to rethink our choices, our priorities, and the way we relate to God and others. This process of conversion is not instantaneous, nor is it easy. It requires an ongoing commitment to spiritual renewal, surrender to God, forgiveness, and purification. Mary knows that in order to navigate the difficult times ahead with peace in our hearts, we need to be spiritually prepared. And preparation begins with conversion, with a change of attitude, and the pursuit of a pure heart full of faith. When we convert, we're not just changing our behavior, we're transforming our mindset, our worldview. Conversion is a process of the profound transformation that leads us to live more truthfully, more aligned with divine principles. And it is through this conversion that we become more receptive to Mary's messages, more attentive to the revelations given to us, and better prepared to face adversity with wisdom and courage. The call to conversion also summons us to live a life of constant prayer. Mary, in her apparitions, asks us to pray more, to seek God more deeply, to purify our hearts, and to be vigilant. She knows that by dedicating ourselves to prayer and spiritual reflection, we become stronger and more capable of dealing with life's challenges. Prayer, when done with sincerity and faith, helps us cleanse our minds and hearts, distance ourselves from the negative influences of the world, and draw closer to God. Every dream, every vision we receive, is a unique opportunity to draw closer to God and be reconciled with Him. Mary shows us the path to true transformation, surrendering our worries and fears to God, seeking a humble and pure heart, choosing to live according to His will, not our own. These warnings she gives us are not meant to scare us, but to remind us that change begins within us, within ourselves. She reminds us that by seeking conversion, we are making the choice to align ourselves with divine truth and allow God's love to radically and profoundly transform our lives. Now, think about this for a moment. Have you ever felt the call to conversion? In your life, have you ever realized, at some point, that perhaps it was time to change, to return to God with more sincerity and devotion? These moments of reflection are precious, because they are what lead us to true transformation. Say to yourself, I am on the path of conversion. Let's walk together, listening to Mary's call and preparing ourselves for what is to come, with hearts open to the transformation God desires for each of us. Now I want to delve even deeper into this topic, because we often wonder how we can truly recognize Mary's warnings in our lives. It is these subtle signs, often invisible to the uninformed, that show us the way. When we speak of Mary and the messages she sends us, we are not just talking about grand visions or extraordinary events. Often, Mary's warnings arrive in simple yet powerful ways, in the most everyday moments of our lives. The key is to be attentive and willing to perceive what God is communicating to us through Heavenly Mother. Have you ever had that feeling that something was wrong? Even when everything seemed fine around you, as if an inner voice was alerting you to something you couldn't yet see. This is one of the first signs that Mary is trying to communicate with us. She uses our deepest feelings, our intuition, to guide us. When we pay attention to our feelings, especially in moments of uncertainty or decision, we can sense that something more is being revealed. Mary often speaks to us not directly, but through the small perceptions and hunches that arise in our hearts. Perhaps you've experienced a difficult situation, a loss, or a moment of crisis, and in the midst of the chaos, something simple happened: a word, a gesture from someone, or even a small miracle that seemed inexplicable. These moments, which we often call coincidences, are actually signs that Mary is showing us the way, giving us strength and direction in the midst of suffering. Like a small lighthouse in a storm, she guides us, offering us comfort and reminding us that no matter how difficult the situation may be, her presence is with us, guiding us and helping us grow spiritually. These signs can also manifest themselves in everyday situations, in the difficulties of daily life. Perhaps you're going through a period of excessive workload, stress, or even facing an existential doubt about what to do with your life. And suddenly, something happens. You encounter an inspiring message, see a gesture of kindness, or feel an inexplicable peace amidst the chaos. Mary, in her immense mercy, is present in these moments, reminding us that even in times of uncertainty, God never abandons us. These small interventions in our daily lives, which we sometimes cannot explain, are, in fact, Mary's warnings, inviting us to trust more in His protection and guidance. On the other hand, we are often so immersed in our own anxieties that we fail to notice these signs. Amidst the rush, daily problems, and worries, we can easily forget to listen to our own soul. This happens to all of us at some point, but it is precisely then that we need to make a conscious effort to reconnect with our spirituality. Prayer, meditation, and silence are practices that help us better perceive Mary's signs. They create the space for us to hear the gentle voice that calls us, so that we can be more sensitive to the divine signs that are always around us. Mary also communicates with us through small blessings, moments of grace that often go unnoticed. A small but transformative miracle, such as healing a feeling of anguish, reconciliation with someone we've distanced ourselves from, or even a sense of peace with ourselves. These small miracles are part of Mary's divine plan, and by recognizing them, we can see how much she is working in our lives, guiding us and preparing us spiritually for what lies ahead. When we notice these signs, we can be sure that Mary is with us, interceding for us, guiding us, helping us make decisions more aligned with God's will. She doesn't leave us alone, even when we don't fully understand what's happening in our lives. The true secret to recognizing Mary's warnings is, above all, opening our hearts. When we are willing to listen, to perceive, to look beyond the surface, that's when we begin to see Mary's hand at work in our lives, guiding us with love and wisdom. Now, I want to ask you, have you ever experienced a sign from Mary or a small miracle in your life? How did you realize it was a warning, a divine message? Comment below. I'm learning to see the signs. Let's continue together on this journey of transformation and discernment, trusting that, at each step, Mary guides us with her love and mercy. Now, I want to delve even deeper into this topic, because we are reaching a crucial point in this journey. Mary, with her infinite goodness and love, calls us to be attentive to the divine signs offered to us every day. Sometimes these signs are gentle, almost imperceptible, but they are there, waiting to be recognized. And by opening our hearts to these signs, we begin to realize how our lives can be transformed in ways we never imagined. Have you ever stopped to think about how the small moments in your life can be filled with divine messages? How a simple conversation, a change in your daily path, or even something that seemed like a coincidence could actually be Mary trying to communicate with you. These moments are opportunities for spiritual connection, and when we learn to recognize this, our journey becomes more enlightened and purposeful. Mary not only calls us to see the divine in grand moments, but also in the subtleties of our everyday lives. You may be wondering now, how can I be more attentive to these signs? And the answer is simple. Open your heart, not just your physical eyes, but the eyes of faith. With every prayer, every moment of silence, Mary makes herself more present, guiding us and offering us wisdom. As we connect with God, we become more sensitive to the small divine interventions that occur around us, and it is through this sensitivity that we can clearly see the messages Mary is trying to show us. Now, do you feel more prepared to perceive the signs and messages Mary is trying to show you? Don't let Mary's silence go unnoticed. Open your heart and receive her guidance. You don't need to be perfect, but you do need to be willing to listen and connect with the divine sincerely. When this happens, we begin to understand that life is much more than the worries of everyday life. It is a spiritual journey where Mary is by our side, guiding us with her light, always ready to help us walk the path of transformation. These signs from Mary aren't just for moments of crisis or difficulty. They're for every moment of our lives, inviting us to grow spiritually, to learn from our mistakes, to draw closer to God. Mary wants us to be better human beings, more compassionate, more aware of our spirituality. Each sign is an opportunity for learning, purification, and, above all, love. If you felt this video spoke directly to your heart, share it with friends and family. Leave a comment and tell us how you've experienced Mary's signs in your life. What have you noticed in your daily experiences that makes you feel her presence closer? And, most importantly, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future videos about divine messages that Mary and other spiritual messengers bring us. This is just the beginning of a profound journey of faith and transformation, and I want to continue this journey with you. If you've made it this far, it's because this message touched something deep within you. I truly hope it was helpful for your journey and that it somehow opened your heart to Mary's signs and warnings. If you felt this content resonated with you, leave a comment like, "This message was for me." That way, I'll know you were with me until the end, and I'm also very happy to hear how this content has touched you. And if you felt a connection during the video, don't forget to leave a like. This helps maintain this exchange of positive energy between us and ensures that the channel continues to bring more content like this, which truly makes a difference. Oh, and there's a video right here that complements this topic. If you liked this topic, click there and follow me there. It'll be great to continue this conversation together.